Hi. Hello. I don't think anyone's here yet. I don't know if anyone's going to come. I put this on Instagram yesterday. If no one does come, it's fine. Y'all know me. I have stuff to talk about. But hello and happy Friday. My name is Chrissy. If you're watching this and you're not here live, I'm mental health advocate, particularly for OCD. Certified peer support specialist. I run OCD Peers, OCD Game Changers, and I'm an author. Oh, yay! Okay. Um, anyway, hey, yay! People are here. I'm just here hanging out. I thought every couple Fridays I might just come on here and hang out. There's no reason. I've had some pretty big life changes over the last few months that I haven't talked about a lot. And one of them being a house. I bought a house and the plumbing has exploded in the last few weeks, which has been severely stressful. But I'm, kind of living up in the mountains and sometimes feel a little lonely up here with all the stuff that I have going on, and life can get complicated. And so I just thought, I have leaf raking OCD. I have to get every one of them. I've never heard of that, Douglas. I have had multiple themes though that probably no one has ever heard of. But anyway, I wanted to come on here kind of like little happy hour, have my little cocktail. This is a seltzer, San Pellegrino, with a little vodka, and I just squeezed a ton of lemon in it. I mean, this is good even if you don't drink. You can just do seltzer water with a bunch of lemon. Usually I put lime in there too, but I didn't have time to go to the grocery store today. So here we are. I hope you're doing well tonight on this Friday night. I'm doing okay. I just finished my final exam for graduate school for my first semester. And there was some kind of curve or something. I kind of don't understand any of that anymore. It's been so long since I've been in school. So I really didn't have to study, but the exam was so hard and it took forever. And so I'm just wiped out, exhausted, and glad to be here. So I'm willing to talk and answer some questions, but I also wanted to just talk a little bit about, since this is a little more relaxed and not as video oriented, I just wanted to get real with y'all on here. Thank you. Congratulations to me. And I passed, which is amazing. I passed 2 classes in grad school. I mean, they were probably the easiest classes I'm going to have, but next semester is statistics and research methods. So you may not see me as much. You may want to check on me every once in a while to see if I'm still breathing. I wanted to take the opportunity today to talk about, I scrub the earth in yard and people ask me if I'm building a thatched hut because I got to get the ones smushed into the grass, but I love it. Douglas, I'm thinking about building a goat pen because I would like to get goats probably in 2023. My neighbor, a couple houses down, has them and they're so cute and I've always wanted goats. So I think I'm going to next spring, summer, build the goat house. I have like a layered backyard, and so it would be perfect up there. I just have to make it sure it's predator proof because I legit live in the middle of the mountains and there's mountain lions everywhere. So I can't have that. I can't go to bed thinking a goat's going to die. So yes. The fainting goats. I know, but it's so mean, isn't it? Because then what if I just make them faint all the time because I think it's funny? I'll probably look at the little ones. They might be a little more manageable. Then I have to get a really big dog to take care of them and make sure that they stay safe. No, I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about what in the world has been going on with me. And I decided to go back to grad school. I'm just gonna tell you because I think that maybe you might be able to relate. Maybe you won't. I don't know. But it's something that I've discovered in my own life with OCD that has really shed some light on stuff and make me feel different about my experience with OCD. So, oh, I'm tired too, Samir. I'm so tired. And I did good. I passed. It's just, geez Louise, I get it. I had a big deadline last Sunday and it was horrific. And then you get that feeling, you're like, yay, I'm excited to be done, but you're too tired. You're too tired to be exhausted or to be excited. Okay, so let me talk to you a little bit. You may find this beneficial. I excuse me. Again, little cocktail hour. I hope wherever you are, you're having a fabulous drink, alcoholic or not, and having a good night or day or wherever you are in the world. Because I know for some of you, it's probably already Saturday. So I had this epiphany a few years ago. If you don't know him already, his name is Michael Greenberg, and he is a therapist who is a bit controversial. And he talks a lot about rumination, and he talks about a lot of different theories that he has, but no, they're not peer reviewed. So of course we have to be really careful when things aren't peer reviewed as stating them as facts. But I had a conversation with him a couple years ago, and he said, he was talking to me about the similarities that people have in their upbringing, in their childhood, when they have OCD. And so, this was a long time ago, so I don't remember the exact stuff. I mean, he and I have talked since. I'm supposed to talk to him this weekend. But he talked a lot about how he relates OCD to attachment styles. Now, again, remember, this is not peer reviewed. This is nothing. He just sees these similarities in people's attachment styles. And I have only recently, in the last 4 or 5 years, felt like, and I don't even think I've talked to y'all much about this over video, excuse me. I've kind of been too scared to, because it's hard to talk about family without feeling like you're blaming your family for everything or throwing them under the bus. But come on, we have to face it. Like, families are not perfect. There's systemic issues in families, generational issues, and those of us that live with mental illness, I think, especially when we're dealing with something like OCD, where many of us are super functional for a while and we're suffering, and then there's stigma, and you don't have a lot of support, or maybe you do, I don't know, but it's just so stigmatized. We're so self-stigmatizing, especially with intrusive thoughts, right? So, I've been hesitant to talk about this, but fuck it, right? So about 4 years ago, I'm going to get back to Greenberg, but about 4 years ago, I had this pretty big awakening about my childhood and even into my adult life. I was always the person that was just like, yeah, childhood sucked because of OCD, but that was my fault, right? Is that true? No, but I just attributed all of that and all of the subsequent behaviors, protective behaviors I have as an adult, to I had OCD and I didn't know it was OCD, and I suffered and blah, blah, blah. And I dealt with all that. And, anything that's happened since then is my fault and I should have dealt with it, blah, blah, blah. The same story that everybody tells themselves when they really don't want to look at the dynamics of their family that might be toxic. And so once I really started looking at it, I read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, because I was having major body issues. Like, I was stuck in certain places. I was, I couldn't relax. I had all this stuff going on. And so I read that book, and it really gave permission for me to believe that I was worthy of having trauma. Before then, I was like, nope, no trauma here. Like, OCD was obviously traumatic, but I still wouldn't even say that that was traumatic. But then when I started examining things in my family, different, and again, this is not my family sucks and everything, but we have to talk about how we relate to people in our family, how we were validated, if we were believed about things, if we were heard. And this correlates with what Michael was telling me about some of the things that he sees in people with OCD. And so when I started to discover all this and kind of put the pieces together, I was like, shit, like, I'll break it down to you like this. In my OCD, and I'm sure in your OCD, you're going to get this too. Our brain tells us this is what's going on. When you are in the world going, no, this is not what's going on. Let's say, for instance, hi, everybody showing up. Yay. For instance, if you are having intrusive thoughts about your sexuality, sexual orientation, okay, you know, I mean, I know you're going to go, but I don't know anymore. Let's put OCD aside. Before OCD showed up, whatever, you just knew, you innately knew, you know, or it was healthy questioning, or it was just healthy not thinking about it, right? Then OCD comes along and is like, ooh, you need to question this. You know, maybe you're gay, maybe you're straight, maybe you're bi, maybe you're asexual, you know, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, what do I identify as? You know, and then it's but at the same time, it's this bizarre phenomenon, right? Where, you know, in the world, I already know this, but my brain is saying, that's not what's really going on. And that's what's so awful about OCD, is that, you know, it's fucked up. Like, you know, that's what makes it ego dystonic. But you can't stop it. And so it makes you feel, to me, this is where I've identified, it makes me feel so awful in my self-worth and my self-esteem, because my frontal lobe, executive functioning brain, is like, I know I am straight. You know, I know I am not attracted to family members. You know I don't want to kill my dog. I know, you know, I don't have bipolar, right? You know, but my brain keeps telling me, yeah, but I don't think that you can trust yourself. And if you wouldn't have these thoughts, if you could, and et cetera, and et cetera. So it's that feeling of, oh my God, I'm an idiot, right? I have no self-worth. I have no self-esteem, because I can't even trust what's coming out of my brain. So I'm telling this to you in a way that I put those pieces together as a child. That's how I lived a lot of my childhood. I would see things happening in the world, subconscious or you know, consciously, and I would tell members of my family, this is how it is, this is how I feel, and they would go, no, you don't. That's not what happened. That's not how it really is. No, those people aren't like that. Oh, those people are like that. To give you like a real world example, I grew up in the South in the 80s. You know, racism was still rampant. I know racism is still here and rampant, but like in the 80s in the South, it was. And I remember having Black friends and hearing things in the white community and being like, I don't understand this. Like, I love my friends. They are awesome. But you would hear, no, they're not. And you shouldn't associate with them and blah, 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 blah. And I would remember going, this makes no sense to me. Like, I'm experiencing something, but being told something different, right? So when I put all these pieces together for OCD, I mean, doesn't that just sound like fucking OCD? You're experiencing the world and your brain is telling you, no, you're not experiencing it that way. So, long story short, in the last few years, especially in meeting with people, you know, for OCD and hearing people's stories and digging some into, you know, things that may have happened in their life where they have been invalidated or they haven't been believed, or they start to have kind of this crack in the system of, can I trust my brain? What are the coping mechanisms when I can't? Blah, blah, blah. I've really started to be curious about the path that Greenberg is going down, which is, what if there is while I believe there's a biological reason, but what if there's an environmental reason why we develop OCD? I don't know that for a fact, so don't quote me on that. Don't tell your therapist, for God's sake, that I said that. But I'm curious. And I made the decision last year, and in doing some work on my own and being able to see the parallel correlations between doing trauma work and then understanding how that relates to OCD, it was possible for me to heal even more in the OCD realm just by understanding those two things almost as one. So that's why I went back to grad school. I'm in a grad program for psychology. I do not want to be a therapist. So Don't write me asking if I could do therapy because I don't want to. I love peer support. I think peer support is so vital. I don't want to cross over into that ethical realm where I can't share my story and I have to be more, boundary oriented about sharing stuff. There's a place for therapy for a lot of people, and it's not me. But that's where I'm at. And frankly, in the last few years, probably in the last year and a half, I've been focusing a lot on healing from stuff from my family. Mm-hmm. Again, my family aren't bad people. And I'm not sitting here going, they're the reason why everything's wrong with me. But I am going to tell you that, like, I have a toxic relationship with my family. And I have struggled so badly for years and years and years to believe it has to be me that created the toxicity. Because I've been told that. I mean, when someone tells you that from your childhood into teenage years and adulthood, and you believe everything bad that's happened is your fault, you tend to believe it, right? But B, it's because I have such a horrible self-esteem, and I have a hard time trusting and believing my experiences, which again, I think correlate to OCD. I have a hard time trusting my feelings. I will feel a certain way and immediately go back to childhood when I would hear all the time, you don't feel that way. Oh, if you feel that way, suck it up, deal with it. Don't express that emotion or whatever. So I struggle with that. And that absolutely feeds into my OCD. As y'all know, I talk a lot about how feelings and OCD intersect. And I think that that's why I have such a hard time getting pulled in by feelings, which I need to do another video on that. Yay, cheers. So that's why I'm here. I just wanted to talk about it. I wanted to tell someone, like, I've been keeping this in. I don't know what I'm going to do, y'all. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I'm like, my life is halfway over. No, I don't know what I'm going to do after grad school. But I'm not scared either, because I typically make some intuitive decisions sometimes, and they lead me to places like here, like doing advocacy and doing peer work. I never set out to do that. Right. So something good is going to happen. And I think my hope is it will be good for us. Right. It will be good for the community. Okay, so I'm going to look at some of the things y'all are saying. I see your comment, Jay. Okay. Hey, everybody. Oh, someone's here from Spain. It is late where you are. Isn't it? Spain is like, what, 7-8 hours ahead? You are up on a Friday night on YouTube. Well, welcome. Oh, Douglas, give them a tin can. The iron will keep them away. Yes, we were talking about goats earlier. Intrusive thoughts about my hair color. It happens. I'm starting to have intrusive thoughts about the grays. Look. Hopefully the next time y'all see me, I'm getting my hair done I've had my hair done in like 4 months. I didn't want to. I remember my 2 sisters and my mom choking us with the Aquanet. I thought, for a minute, I was like, do I need to report? Aquanet in the 80s. Oh my God. Probably has a layer of Aquanet shellac on it to this day. My grandmother used to use Aquanet, and I'm going to tell you something. That smell gives me nostalgia. It does. I smell it now, and I'm like, Grandma Peavy. That was her name. My grandmother was 5 foot. She was from the South, and she was tough as nails. I mean, she was 5 foot tall. No, she was 4 foot, 10 or something, and they called her Runt. My other grandmother was 6 foot 10. Or 6 foot. My dad's 6'10". He's huge. Okay. This channel has helped me more than anything. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's why I'm here tonight. I just needed to connect to the community. I need to connect more. I isolate, y'all. When I get stressed or when big changes happen, I isolate, and I need to start connecting more. And talking about all the stuff and normalizing it. Because I imagine if I'm experiencing a lot of this shit, you are too. I mean, we're all like the same person, aren't we? At least the same brain. What are the attachment styles he's observed? Great question, Steph. So we haven't gotten into depth about it. He did talk to me, and he didn't even know I had emetophobia when we were talking. But he started talking about how, well, children develop emetophobia when they have this anxious attachment and they don't have the ability to talk to their parents, so they hold it in and da da da. And everything he described was about me. And I was like, "You do know I have emetophobia?" And he went, "Oh, so then you must feel like this X, Y, and Z." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is legit." So I don't know exactly, and I wish that I did. I should get him on here. Maybe one Friday night, I can get him on here and we can talk about the attachment style and his theories. And again, like when we talk about this kind of stuff, first of all, it's not peer reviewed. But second of all, knowing it isn't going to make OCD better. But for me, when I started to look, oh, do you want to know what really helped me? Was when I'm reading John Bowlby's, no, someone's book. John Bowlby was the creator of the attachment style theory and all that. I'm reading a book like called Attachments or something. I don't know what it is. And I don't want to get up and go get my iPad because I don't know where it is. And I'd probably get stuck trying to find it. But it's like attachment theory or something like that. And it's when I started reading about this, I was only in chapter 3, and I felt this weight lifted off of me. Because I've always thought to myself, like, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with, why am I so anxious all the time? Why do sometimes I act like this in relationships? Or here's the big one. Get ready for this. You know how you know how you think, well, other people in my life have had OCD. You know, other people in generations above me have had mental illness. Why did it have to get so bad with me? And you immediately go, it must be because I'm weak. It must be because I'm stupid. It must be because, whatever else. Well, what really lifted that weight off of me was reading and realizing I probably got the anxious gene. So there's like, you can have an anxious gene. And I had anxious attachment style with my mom. I mean, I still have anxious attachment style with my mom. Oh God, I hope she doesn't watch this. I should probably get that out of here. Anyway, I had those two things. So we're talking about two forces working against me with anxiety. Of course, things got bad for me. And other factors, like I'm just going to say it out loud. Like I've experienced childhood emotional neglect. I did not know that. And we're not talking about neglect because when we think about neglect, we think you didn't get food, you didn't get shelter, and even in a way, like you didn't get love. I mean, I got hugs, I got told I love, but I experienced the emotional neglect, meaning my emotions weren't heard or validated. And so with that in combination with the other anxious gene, I mean, come on now. Of course I got all fucked up, right? And of course I struggle with, trusting my emotions. I struggle with anxiety now in relationships, all of those things. So I'm not sure exactly which one. I'll try to get Michael to come on here. That would be so fun. Y'all will love him. And the book. When I come on next to do a video, which will be later this week, I'm going to bring the book and I'm going to show you so you'll know stuff. Okay. According to Hulbert, not many people have an inner monologue 100% of the time, but most do. Sometimes he estimates inner monologue as it's like, to me, I don't even understand how people don't have an inner monologue. Like, what do they do all day? Like I'm monologuing all day in my head, arguing with people that don't even exist. Yes, the brain gaslight says. Yes, it does. Is there a cure for my OCD? I have multiple types of OCD, including POCD. Oh, God, POCD is so awful. I hate it. Oh, look, you just said it's awful. It is. I hate it. Oh, God, and you have false memories with it. I'm so sorry. That sucks. There's no cure for OCD. Not to this point. Lots of people say that there is. Lots of people say that medication cures it, things like that. What we know up to this point is that you can do things to manage it. And some of those things are to work with a counselor, therapist, to do exposure response prevention therapy, to learn how to manage it. The sad part about that and the daunting part is that, you do have OCD forever. But sometimes what we do is when we hear that, we relate it to the worst time you have felt OCD and you think, oh my God, my life is going to be like that forever. And that's just simply not the case. Yes, you will have it for the duration of your life. But I try to look at it in the way of like lots of people have chronic illnesses and they manage it and they have wonderful lives. I mean, I have an anxious life and there are things about having OCD that I do not like. But in general, I've been able to do just about anything that I want, even while having OCD. When it comes to vomit, that's the exception. I won't eat certain things. Yeah, I need to do some ERP on that. And I'm afraid of heights. And I don't think that's OCD. I don't know. But that has kept me from doing specifically some things. But whatever. I don't want to jump out of an airplane anyway. Okay. When I experience OCD. Yeah. When I experience OCD, even though I know the obsession is meaningless, when the next obsession comes along after I did a compulsion, I'm still just as scared as I was the first time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the reason why you are, and the reason why all of us are, is because even if something is the same, or even if we develop a different compulsion, we're still dealing with one part of the brain that only knows how to react a certain way. Typically, it's going to be fight, flight, or freeze, right? So what are you programmed to do? And that's usually what's happening to you. So while another obsession isn't triggering OCD in a different way, it's actually triggering the amygdala the same way the first one did. That's why I don't experience sexual orientation OCD anymore. But I will have intrusive thoughts sometimes, or I'll hear a song that triggered me way back in the day, and I'll hear it and I'll feel like I'm 14 years old again. Right? I'll have the same response, but then I tell myself, and this is not compulsive, but I tell myself, of course the amygdala is going to have the same response. That part of the brain never changes. Your amygdala stays the same. Okay. Using these genetics. Yep. There's a lot of research pointing to genetics. Although my family will say, no one in the family is mentally ill but you. That's not true. There are other people, but they basically call them crazy. So I guess I'm just falling in the line of being the next crazy person in the generation. Oh, let's see. What do you see in those ink blots? I mean, the first intrusive thought I had, I couldn't sleep, worst night of my life. I know. I remember I was 8. My relationship with my family has impacted my mental health. Yeah, I believe that too. I 100% believe that. Oh, thank you, Douglas. My hair, I'm getting it done soon. It is so long and it's it's big, but it's like so heavy. It's like weighing everything down. I think there's like a conversation going on here. So I don't know if you're asking questions or, I have the anxious gene plus cortisol malfunctioning. Oh, interesting. How do you mean your emotions weren't validated? I think that question is to me. What do I mean? Hold on a second. Cocktail hour. Oh. Again, I'm having a little vodka, soda water with a little lemon. Yay. My emotions weren't validated. So this is a great question, and thank you for asking me this, because I didn't even understand what this meant until the last couple of years of my life and the importance of feeling validated. So, the way that I try to relate to validation would be belief. That someone believes I feel the way that I do. So if I go to my, let's say my best friend, Margaret, I go to her and I say, I'm really upset about so and so and so and so, and I'm having a hard time, getting over this, or let's just say it this way, like I feel like what you did or said to me really hurt my feelings. Having that feeling and feeling validated would be her going, oh my goodness, tell me why, tell me what I did so we can work it out. Having them invalidated would be like, oh, you're just making it up. you're just being dramatic. That didn't really happen. Right? So it's basically taking what you experienced and telling me that you don't believe it, which then causes me to question, well, especially when it's people you trust and especially when you're growing up, it causes you to question, well, do I feel that way? Are my feelings really hurt? And typically when we're in a toxic relationship with like, pervasive invalidation, what we start to do is it is like gaslighting. Someone said that earlier. It is this perpetual feeling that I can't trust my own emotions. And sometimes when it's really bad in a family household, you sometimes believe you can't trust your own eyes. I mean, have you ever been around someone that is a horrible gaslighter, a horrible manipulator, and you will have a conversation with them and they will say something and something happens and you bring it up even a few days later and they go, that didn't happen. I didn't say that. And you sit there and go, did they say that? Like there, I have had times in my life where I have recorded conversations with family members just so I could go back and be like, okay, I'm not crazy. This did happen and they're saying it didn't. So it's like that. And when you are, so think about, when you're in a relationship as an adult and you're not being validated, but you've grown up being validated, then it might be easier to spot it and be like, yeah, that person's toxic. I don't want to be around them anymore. But think about growing up in an environment where you are constantly invalidated from day one. I mean, that's, to me, I just see that as completely setting yourself up to have mental illness and to have not be able to trust your own brain, not be able to have kind of that secure connection with yourself that you can go, I feel this way, and fuck anybody that says that I don't. I mean, you know what I'm saying. But so I did not experience that as a child. And here's the other thing is I do understand that, people do the best that they can sometimes, and that's okay. And it's our job to learn all of this stuff as we are adults and we see how these patterns have impacted us, and it's our job to change it. So just to make it clear, I'm certainly not saying in the video, like, this is what happened to me, and I'm just harboring, anger and bitterness. I was set free a few years ago when I found all this out. Before then, I was probably harboring bitterness, but it was freeing to be able to put a name to what I was going through, to be able to say this, I was traumatized, to be able to say I was emotionally invalidated, kind of started to put the puzzle pieces together of why I react specific ways now, why my OCD gets bad at times, and to a certain degree to help predict when OCD is going to get bad. Here's a question for y'all. Have you ever experienced OCD in a way that you were going to face a huge something very huge and emotional, and all of a sudden OCD comes in and takes all of your energy? It's like, for example, like if you've had a death in the family or something, but OCD comes in almost like, you're not going to experience this emotion because I'm going to, tell you that you're a pedophile, right? So then all of a sudden you're worried about you're a family member or loved one's funeral, and instead of grieving, all you're doing is like, am I a pedophile? Why did I have that thought? What does that mean? I hear that over and over. And that's one of the things I want to explore. Why is it that when we are faced with heavy, daunting emotions, sometimes we are reluctant to enter those, and all of a sudden OCD comes in and pulls us out of it and distracts us? Chance McNeely has this whole theory about it, and I'm not going to speak for him. I'll have to get him on here too. But he talks about it, how he thinks it's almost a way to dissociate. It comes in and saves us from dealing with that heavy, heavy grief, from dealing with things that we may be incapable of facing, or not have the energy or not have the confidence in facing. So I think that's interesting. And I just wanted to share that with y'all. Yay. In the journal, I wrote about how we get. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that, Samir. My dad keeps telling me I'm a weirdo. No, your dad is a weirdo. This is crippling. I'm so sorry you're going through that and that what you're going through is being invalidated. That's exactly what we were just talking about. Um, you have so much empathy, which shows. Oh, thank you. What's your opinion on Kim's Quinlan's ERP school? I don't really have an opinion. Hi from Spain. I just wanted to say thanks for all you do. It's amazing. Oh, look, there's someone else from Spain. It's so late there. Y'all stay up late. I'm wondering if anyone else can experience jumping things. Oh, jumping. I thought you meant like jumping. As soon as I seem to go over a particular theme of OCD, a new theme shows up and the cycle continues. It's so common. Snorby. You have a sloth. That's so cute. It's so common. It's also common for it to almost like rapid cycle sometimes. You never know what day you're going to wake up and there's going to be a theme here. You're going to wake up and there's going to be a theme there. And again, just to pull the complexity out of that, sometimes we get so focused on the themes, like theme. What's the theme today? What's this? I just had this theme and now remember, the simplicity of this is that it's really only coming from one part of the brain, the amygdala. If you haven't read Choice by Dr. Stephen Phillipson, go read it. I'm going to put it here in the comments right here. Choice by Phillipson. And that's ocdonline.com. Boom, there it is. Go read it. It's 48 pages. It's like a book. I'm like, just publish it already. Boom. It explains everything about what is going on in our brain and why it's happening and, who's going to, ways to be more successful in therapy. It just, when I read it, I was like, oh, what? It just gives you the mechanism, right? The more biological way of looking at it. It won't help your symptoms, meaning you're still going to have symptoms, but it may help you make sense of them and how the amygdala is involved. Is it normal to have thoughts about my loved ones? Like, I hope and insert bad thing. That happened to me recently and got sad, but now I was like, meh, but still, I don't like that. Okay, I'm confused. Is it normal to have thoughts about my loved ones? Like, I hope murder, like death, maybe? I'm just guessing. Oh, okay. I hope, okay. Yeah. Okay, now I'm getting it. Yes, it's normal. I mean, it's OCD, right? And typically it's going to attack people that you love. It's going to, sometimes I would have like intrusive thoughts about, my friends and loved ones going on planes, right? And my brain would go, ooh, maybe you want it to crash. And I would be like, what? Like, what? Why would you think that? And then, of course, I would count the minutes until the plane landed safely because magical thinking would make me think that I made the plane crash. But yeah. Oh, psychopaths have a damaged amygdala. I don't know anything about that, but I am taking what is it? How do you say it? Psychopathy. I am taking a class in grad school on psychopathy later. So I could, in 2 years, it's my last semester. So I can come back and answer that. Whenever you and your partner disagree on something, does that trigger our OCD? Oh, sorry, it was a seed. No, I typically don't really have OCD that much. Sometimes I've had it in the past, and I think that bout of it made me really understand and recognize what it is and what it could be like. Our OCD can be so confusing because essentially it can be anxiety, but it can also be anxiety latching on to real problems, right? So, our OCD can take many different forms. And sometimes it's like, oh, I need to figure out whether this is actually OCD or if there's something wrong with my relationship. I look at that sometimes as, am I having like irrational, like intrusive kind of urgent thoughts about needing to solve something? So, I mean, basically what I'm saying is I just monitor the compulsions, right? If I have compulsions around my partner, then I'm having OCD. And now whether that is, am I in the right relationship? Is this, or if it's, I'm having a problem in the relationship and OCD is latching onto that and making me feel like I have an urgency to figure it out. Again, I just watch for compulsions and try to stop those in order to see clear enough to be able to solve a problem if there really is one in the relationship. Okay. Hello, Daniel. I wanted to pop in and say it's good to see you. You've been helpful on my journey. Yay! You're welcome, Vegan Prophet. Whoops. Oh man, this is so hard to keep this thing steady. I just put lotion on too, so it's like, how do you keep, okay. How do you keep going with your life after a big crisis? Oh, such a good question. I can't enjoy things that I like as I did before OCD working and watching a movie because I'm worried about the thoughts that may appear in this moment. Okay, so this is from Nair. Hello. This is a great question. I think there's a lot of different nuances to this question, but like let's focus on the crisis of OCD because I think that's what you're asking. Had you know, or if there's a crisis and the fear of OCD showing up. I think I did a video on this, so you might want to go back and revisit it if you haven't watched it. But I talked about the trauma of the onset of OCD. It doesn't just have to be the onset, y'all. I mean, it was traumatic when OCD showed up for me at 8, but worse when I was 14 because it went from fear of vomit, and I had that for years and years with religious scrupulosity to boom, sexual orientation OCD, which was the big theme for me when I was a teenager. And I think one of the things that I've recognized, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but a lot of learning to cope with the fear of OCD coming back is experience, is surviving a few relapses and learning that you have the capacity to get through them, because that's often the thing that we're scared about the most, right? We're scared we're not going to, it's never going to go away. We're never going to be the same as we were. So when you survive this a few times, like when it gets really bad, then you start having the confidence of, okay, well, it sucks and I don't want it here, but I've made it through it a few times, and so I can make it through again. So there's that. But I also want to say, and I said this in the video, is that you may also have a trauma reaction and a trauma response, remembering what it was like to suffer. Now, I get so pissed off at therapists who are just like, OCD isn't trauma. They just want to see it as behavioral and they can fuck themselves, right? Sorry, I'm on an F-bomb roll tonight. But I hate it. I get so mad. A, why does someone else get to dictate that? And B, if you have not experienced OCD to the fullest degree of suffering that we do, you don't understand how lost you can get. You don't understand how hopeless it can feel. And most of us get to that point, whether it's the first, the second, or the rock bottom that we hit, right? Most of us get there. And if we get out of it, that fear of being back down there and helpless and hopeless is really, really terrifying and can be really pervasive. So Nair, that might also be what you're experiencing, is when you're trying to relax, when you think that things are going okay, you're having a trauma response of, oh my gosh, what if I get back down there again? What if it happens again? And so tracking and monitoring when OCD comes up, seeing what works, getting through it, getting some therapy to help you really gains a lot of confidence when you go through OCD several different times. I go through one threw me for a doozy the last few years, and I've talked about it before. But gosh, as much as it sucked ass, like I learned so much through that relapse, and now I'm better equipped in moving forward when OCD shows up. Okay. OCD takes so much joy. I know. And Douglas is talking about hangnails and warts. Real talk. Hi from Morocco. Hitchum. I hope I said that right. Morocco. That's probably like 10 hours from here. Oh, I would love. Wait a minute. I may not know where Morocco is. Uh-oh. Should I look at my globe back there? I don't even want to guess because y'all are going to think I'm stupid. Um, I am horrible at geography. Thank goodness I don't have to take that in grad school. Oh, someone is saying, where do we go? See, I keep losing. My OCD treatment has been sidelined to schema therapy to address underlying trauma. I'm keeping an open mind, anything to shut up my POCD. First of all, I'm sorry you're dealing with POCD. Yuck. It is so tough, but sometimes it is good to take a break and to use trauma therapy. I got trauma therapy a few years ago for all the stuff I was talking about before. I had to teach my therapist, please don't try to treat my OCD. That was hard, but she adapted. But it was worth it. It was amazing therapy. It was life-changing for me. Not necessarily for my OCD, but just for healing the trauma I'd experienced. So keep going, Shay. It will get better. You should watch the Mind That Seeks the Truth video series. It says thought can't change anything in us. I believe that. OCD talks a lot about false or made up things, but real event, and in my case, a serious thing, not something silly I did as a teen. I know people would judge me crazy if they knew. Look, I don't know, and you don't have to share what you've done, but I talk to a lot of people in peer support. People, we do stupid things when we're teenagers and kids, right? And I know that sometimes we do things that you can't take back, and sometimes they're bad, right? Sometimes we hurt people, and sometimes, things are really awful, but, just don't beat yourself up. You're not alone. Lots of people harbor a lot of guilt and shame for things they did when they were just young and stupid. I do just stupid things I said or did, or weird shit that I did too, which is bizarre. And I do think sometimes if people knew this stuff, they would be like, oh my God, you're ridiculous. But I also know I was a kid. I was a different person. I was surviving OCD. So I get it. And take good care. Oh, yay. This chat is really showing me how I need to be there for myself. I'm so glad. Did it ever get so bad you weren't eating or sleeping? That's where I'm at right now. It's dumb because I know the thoughts don't mean anything unless you let them. It's like my brain doesn't work. Yes, I have, and you may want to see if you're experiencing depression, because sometimes when eating and sleeping habits get impacted, that means there might be something else going on, and you can get help for depression separately too. Depression is the freaking Achilles heel of OCD, because sometimes we can manage and manage and manage. It's almost like this adrenaline management, and then depression hits and it just it puts on the brakes. So you may want to seek some treatment for that. And it could just ease things up enough to get treatment for OCD, or at least to get you sleeping again. You don't want to get into that habit where you're not sleeping, because as we know, OCD can get worse with that. So maybe if you don't have a therapist or a psychiatrist, you can even visit your GM, not GM, GD. I don't know, general doctor. What are they called? I don't know. And see if they can help you out a little bit. Help normalize my OCD experience. Good. Hi from Sweden. Sweden's like 9 hours from now. Y'all are up so late tonight. I love it. I wanted to do this earlier, by the way. I was going to do it at 4, but I had to take my damn final exam. And it took me 90 minutes. I thought I was going to be done in 60, but nope. So hello. Thank you for being here. Nair, I'm so glad that helped. It could be a trauma response. And you're in Argentina. Awesome. I think Argentina is just a couple hours ahead of me. So happy Friday night. Just to simplify, trying to get busy can get benefit. I don't know what this is in relation to. OCD is an emotional experience. I get angry, disgusted, sad, empty. I know. It doesn't let you escape. Your treatment begins next year. Yay! Congratulations. That's only like 3 weeks away. Good. Why do you think Pure O is not talked about? Where's my dog? There he is. Why do you think that Pure O is not talked about as much as things like ADHD? Well, here's the thing. Pure O isn't talked about because there's a lot of controversy about the theme or the title. Here's Ollie. I'm going to show y'all him. Come here, baby. He's like, can you please stop working and come hang out with me? This is Oliver. Hello. Look, all his fur is growing back. He had surgery on both of his legs, and they had to take all of his fur off, and it's finally growing back. He's like, I see a light in the mirror or in the window. What's that? This is my baby, Oliver Baxter. Hello. So the thing about it is that Pure O is not an actual diagnosis, and in fact, it's kind of a controversial name in the OCD world, I guess. People tend to get, some people, y'all know me. I mean, my book's called Pure OCD, so I don't get mad. But, some people just feel like it's misleading from a scientific perspective because it's called Pure O, meaning purely obsessional, which I always say, and especially when I'm doing videos and stuff, it's, we're not saying purely obsessional. It's basically just a community name for people who experience intrusive thoughts and mental rituals. It's a place for people to feel like they belong. Like my connection to the term Pure O is because when I was first diagnosed, y'all, this was back in like 1998. We didn't have internet then. I didn't have any way of finding. So when I was diagnosed with OCD, here you go, baby. When I was diagnosed with OCD, all I knew was, reading things about people hand washing or seeing stuff on TV or looking in my, my textbooks at school. Pull my shirt off. I didn't have any connection to a community. I didn't have any way of feeling understood. I thought I was an anomaly, which then again, of course, makes me feel like a monster. And so when I found Dr. Stephen Phillipson's website, and he was like Pure OCD, and he had all of these stories and stuff of people who had gotten through therapy who had all these sexual and violent intrusive thoughts, I was like, oh my goodness, these are my people. I am not alone. So if it wasn't for that term, I really don't know how well I would have connected to having OCD, which then made me want to connect to all of you. And then also to really start to believe and heal and not see myself as this, monster. So that's why I try to do, he's driving me nuts. That's why I try to do as much advocacy as I can around the term. So we can get more, it's just hard. We can get more awareness out there. It's just that, it's hard to, I do what I can here and on Instagram and talk as openly as I can about it. But sometimes it just feels so daunting. Like, how are we going to get people to understand that you can have like fear of pedophilia thoughts or incest thoughts, these things that are so taboo, and that it's something that can be helped and doesn't have to be scary. So that's why, and we're doing everything we can. So I'm gonna, no, I'm not gonna let my top open. No, this ain't no porno. I have fears and compulsions about my mother dying. However, I notice that these fears don't feel as terrifying as Pure O fears. Could the fear of my mother dying still be OCD? I mean, the best way to see that is to look for compulsions. And remember, Pure OCD is not a diagnosis. OCD is OCD, and it all comes from one part of the brain. So if you can, go read that article choice. And know like the way to identify, and this is a good way to end because I am going to end. Oliver needs to eat. It's been almost an hour, and I need to go like rest. This is a good way to end though. A lot of times we struggle with, is this OCD? We get really, really scared. It's not OCD this time, right? It's real this time. And it's usually around something that we feel like, I can't imagine that this could be real. Like you and your mother dying, that fear and the fear of, Am I a pedophile? Am I a murderer? Am I this? Do I love my kids? Do I love my spouse? Blah, blah, blah. We get so scared, right? We get so scared it's not going to be OCD. There's no way you could take 1,000 different Y box tests and you still wouldn't believe it. So what I'm going to end here with is this. Do I ever fully believe that I have OCD? No, because there's always that doubt there of what if it's not this time, right? But I can fully believe that what I am experiencing is what I have been experiencing since I'm 8, because I always do the same thing. I always do the same compulsions. So I don't monitor my thoughts. I monitor my compulsions. And yes, with pure O, intrusive thoughts, with mental rituals, it's harder because rumination is hard to detect. Mental reviewing is hard to detect. Avoidance is hard to detect. But when you start to see throughout my life, whenever I get a thought and I had this reaction, the same things happen. Maybe every time you have a sexual intrusive thought, the groin moves. Every time you have a violent intrusive thought, you get an urge. You can start to see these things as part of a pattern, right? And then you can predict, and then you can anticipate instead of, please don't let this happen. I know it's going to happen because this is what happens every time. I know it's scary. I'm not trying to simplify this experience, but what I'm trying to tell you is this: we can't ever 100% know, but we can see our compulsions as the proof that we need. And then you might go, well, I don't think I'm doing compulsions anymore. The fact that you're even questioning that you're doing compulsions is a compulsion. So there you go. I wish I could drop something here and say, do this, and this will all go away for you. That's what I wish I could give you. That's what I wish I could give as a gift to you. Because as you know, I know 100% how deep and horrible rock bottom can be, how dark it can be, and how terrifying. And I know many of you might be there. I know many of you have been there, or you're scared of going back. I am too sometimes. But if you've done it before, you'll do it again. And if this is your first time going through this, you can do this. And you're at the right place. You're with all these other people who get it, right? You're not alone. And that, my friends, is half the battle, because that really helps with the hopelessness. So thank you for being here. It was really fun. I'll do this again in a few more weeks. I'll try to have guests too. I want Phillipson to come on because he makes the best Manhattan. I know he loves them. So I was like, I could bring him on and we could make one together and have a little happy hour chat. I'll be uploading a video here next week too. So look for that. If you're on Instagram, head on over. I'm at Pure O Chrissy. I'm going to change up my Instagram now. I'm just kind of tired of doing like advocacy OCD shit there. So I'm going to do a little bit more mountainy stuff. And then I'm going to do more advocacy here at YouTube. I'm glad you're here. I hope you have a wonderful Friday or Saturday, wherever you are. I look forward to seeing you again on a video and then live here in another couple weeks. Thanks for being part of my community. It makes me feel less alone too.